release, rise, and repeat. And we're talking about revealing the truth, releasing the blocks, rising up, and as the blessing in our lives and blessing everyone in our life, and doing it again and again as a choice, as a habit. The creative message of both Passover and Easter is about rising and transcendence. It's about moving beyond what appears to be into the reality, capital R, of what is. We rise up when we transcend, the fears and the prejudices and our histories, our conditioned beliefs of how the world is. And then we become instruments of our own unique divine creative expression. We rise in faith believing, which means that we inhabit and create. We create from that field of pure potentiality. All things are possible. And that includes and celebrates how unique we are, our precious, unique humanness. So we're transcending some of the problems, some of the limitations, the lack, the conditioning, but we're including the joyful human interactions, relationships, love, peace, joy that we share with each other. So rising up is a gift that we give ourselves and the universe. Just as Jesus, the great example, was no longer tomb bound by this tomb that he was in, neither are we. He was no longer bound by death, the appearance of loss. He was fully realized as his immortal being, his eternal being. And we live beyond the great stones that are rolled in front of the cave and the barriers by choosing to reveal our hidden splendor, releasing all that no longer serves us. There is this higher place in consciousness. We go to it every moment that we start a prayer, just like we did this morning, where we can envision and create lives of deep meaning and joy and presence, and create a world that works for us, so that we're creating a world that works for everyone. We become that example as Jesus was. We learn together, like when we come together like this, to live beyond, above and beyond judgments and attachments and resistance, reaction, limited thinking, so that we can experience peace, that peace that passes all understanding. And through our choice to create, we create peace and love and joy with intention, through our divine connection. Ernest Holmes said that Jesus taught a power transcendent, triumphant, absolute, positive, against which lesser laws meant nothing. Meaning that all the laws out there, the laws of gravity, the laws of buoyancy, all these natural laws in the world of nature don't compare to the law itself, the law that created those laws. So through his transcendence of the idea of his limitations, those laws meant nothing. For himself rising from the dead, from Lazarus rising from the dead, we have a lot of stories, and we have stories most of us may not know, but in Hinduism and in Buddhism of similar stories of rising and saints and things like that. And certainly in Judaism, which Jesus was a Jew. By its very presence, this power heals. That's what we call miracles and healing that happen every day. You know, the people like Emerson, who I have a quote from soon, you know, he went to St. Augustine, Florida, to heal himself from tuberculosis, and believing and obviously teaching that through his thought, keeping his thoughts on that transcendence, the being that is never hurt, harmed, or endangered, the being that is never sick, he was able to cure himself of tuberculosis, while many in his family died of that disease. The transcendent power is not outside of us, of course. It is not with someone else. It is our true identity. And today we call that our Christ consciousness, that Christ consciousness within. Recognition of our divinity combined with that willingness, you know, to cultivate the consciousness, consistently aware of it, reveals that sometimes hidden splendor of who we are. But by our very recognition, we create that opening, that gap for higher knowing, and it activates that flow of divine energy into every aspect of our life. Dr. Holmes wrote, "We all have the ability to transcend previous experience, whatever's happened, and rise triumphant above them. But we shall never triumph over them while we persist in going through the old mental reactions." That makes sense, right? You know, like you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Releasing the weight of past limiting beliefs frees us up to rise in faith, to become our authentic being and self in all of our relationships. At the Centers for Spiritual Living, we believe that heaven, as Jesus taught, is within. It's within us, and it is right now. We're not waiting for it. We're not waiting for something to happen. We experience it to the degree that we simply become conscious of it or aware of it. We rise up in our consciousness of heaven through our intention to reveal it right here, right now, together. So that first thought, revealing the truth, whether we call it an uncovering of our inner truth or recognition that we are surrounded and filled and saturated and sustained by this power greater than we are, and we can use it. We seek to consistently remember and reveal who we are. When I looked up the word reveal in the dictionary, it says to make previously unknown or secret information known. Isn't that interesting? Because we are not trying to gain something or acquire some knowledge or get something that we don't have. We're revealing what we are and have always been. God as us, each of us right here and right now. And Eckhart Tolle said, you find peace not by rearranging the circumstances in your life, the relationships in your life, the things in your life, but by realizing who you are at the deepest level. When challenges show up, the greatest challenge is often remembering to name and claim spirit as our source and substance and supply and truth. We are unlimited channels for all possibilities, not just what we've already experienced, the past precedents that we've set up in our lives, but we open again to all possibilities. That recognition opens us up to life's creative energy and solutions that we couldn't have seen before start coming from all these avenues that we couldn't have imagined before. The solutions flow. So in using the Easter story and the rising of Jesus from the tomb, we can shift our understanding of what that tomb represents. You know, some dark space where we're stuck, to that place of deep rest and rejuvenation, revitalization and renewal. So we can substitute the word womb for tomb. Then our entire perception changes of this story, maybe, and maybe the story in our lives, that all creation has to, gestate before its birth. All creative ideas and possibilities have to be born and developed and gather momentum in consciousness before they are produced in form. So that's like the tomb. Jesus, where we would have said the body is dead, no longer exists, was gestating this idea that nope, not true. There's a higher law. There's something happening here, a transcendence, new possibilities. All creative ideas are born in consciousness first and need that gestation period before it arrives in form. So then we look at the idea of release. All the opinions, I see it in my son. He would hate if I was talking about it right now, but he's 19 years old and everything is so important with him and his friends. It's all so important right now, and their beliefs and the ideas. But then tomorrow it's going to be another one and a new one and a new one. And by the time, for me at my age, we have this weight of our opinions and our maybe past resentments or judgments or unforgiveness. It's so heavy. It makes us feel like we're in a tomb sometimes, that we're weighted down by nothing more than our own beliefs that are based on beliefs and thoughts. That unholy trinity of blame, shame, and regret are not our spiritual inheritance. They come from the belief of separation. So release is a process of again and again and again, revealing what needs to be let go of, what needs to be reconciled, or just simply absolutely turned away from. Like, nope, that no longer serves me. Will no longer participate in that anymore. I release. And when we start looking into and studying our own lifelong scorecards of who did what to whom and why, there could be some surprises. Like, wow, I've been holding on to that and I didn't realize. I didn't even remember. So we become willing to forgive and to see from a higher viewpoint. Pierre Pradervand said, "There are no neutral thoughts. Every single thought is charged with a quality of energy. And when charged with love, every thought can contribute to the healing of the planet and the transformation of the world. But we know that every thought, every one of our thoughts that is charged with love can contribute to our healing and the transformation of our world." And after revealing and releasing, we rise up. We rise up. We choose to think and create from that, as Emma Curtis Hopkins would say, that upper room of consciousness. We place ourselves there more and more often, just like we did when we had that opening prayer this morning, where we just let go and we stand in that open, empty space of consciousness where all possibilities exist. We rise up into that space and we choose to think and create from there. We live above and beyond precedent, our past mistakes, our past conditioning, and we move as one who is the unique, creative expression of infinite divine mind. Imagine how our lives change incrementally and exponentially when we just step into that place daily, hourly. When we just step in there and decide to live from that place, have everything be informed from that consciousness, because we know we are always creating. And then we have to ask, from where am I creating? My sense of separation, my sense of oneness and wholeness. And it's easy enough to tell, isn't it? You know, if we're at peace, we're experiencing peace regardless of the trauma, drama, situations, and events that are happening in our life, even though they're happening maybe right at us, family or friends or our bodies. We can be at peace while we deal with that. We will experience more and more peace. And if we are creating from confusion or lack or limitation, that's that place of separate, that my God and myself are separate, then guess what? We experience more confusion, more lack, more limitation, more separation. So rising up beyond the precedents, the stories, the past conditioning, frees us up to become these innovative, creative, resourceful, inspired, which means in spirit, creators, people, human beings. And we know that, you know, in many of our environments with our families, you know, happy Easter. Many of us are going to go see our families or being around different types of situations and groups at work. Certain environments, it's very seductive to engage in judgment and blame. Just go to Facebook, you know, you'll see it. And it's often not just acceptable, it's expected. Like if you don't join in this derogatory or negative, you know, snowball, you're considered weird. So our peer groups often want us to join on that negative bandwagon. We can be hijacked by, you know, social media, the news outlets, and even sometimes the dynamics in our own families. But don't get taken down by someone else's fear-based agenda or unhealed emotional, spiritual wounds. That's when we're standing in that place. We have compassion for sure. We can, but we see, you're coming from your sense of separation. That's not the truth of your being. I might not say that out loud, depending on who I'm talking to, but I might recognize it so I can have compassion for them, but stay still, stay standing in my truth. Transcendence is a habit, not a destination. We don't arrive there and, oh, I'm enlightened. Look at me. It's a choice with every situation, every moment, to be present, to know the truth. We make it over and over again. Ernest Holmes wrote that the science of mind and spirit is a teaching and a practice. If we want to rise up, we practice rising up. We practice revealing our spiritual truth. We practice releasing that which is not our spiritual truth. And daily find those, I hate to even call them disciplines. I hate to call them practices, because we're finding the moments where we know who we are and we rest in them. We can call that a discipline or a practice, but really it's a blessing. Find those blessings in your life where you can be still and know, I am God. I am who thou art. Thou art who I am. We rise above the race consciousness and we rest in spiritual consciousness. So this week, I invite us all, this week after Easter, to create a new and transcendent narrative for our life based on what is possible, not what is probable, not what other people think or the statistics or all these other things, but let's create a new narrative based on possibilities, a new story of self-love, self-care, self-expression. And let's birth our story of rising out of the cave or the tomb of our past conditioning. And let's sense ourselves in the womb of creating something amazing and beautiful. We dare to cross out the doubting words of others, the negative headlines on the news channels or Facebook, and the opposition that comes up in all of our situations. We just release it. We just let it go. Emerson wrote, God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. Always, 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 always do what you are afraid to do. Oh, I'm gonna get a little teary right here. Do what you're afraid to do. If you do the thing that you fear, then the death of fear is certain. Every time we choose to do what we're afraid to do, we're stepping out of precedent and we're stepping into our God self. Every step we take in growing our awareness of God, our awareness of oneness, in and as God, will lead us further and further from the familiar, from the comfortable, from the conditioned realms of thoughts and beliefs. And God knows, we know it's scary. It's unpredictable. It's nerve-wracking. It's annoying. I'm just going to say it. But the sacred life we are living is not a rehearsal. It is opening night every minute. Every minute. We're meant to be in joy and peace. We're not meant to be bored or under a heavy burden. Dare to see yourself as the incredible expression of pure spirit. Dare to reveal the truth, release the past, and rise into that love and peace and joy that is already there, ready to just burst forth, streaming from within. Dare to live more life than we have lived before, as Jesus did. But we can affirm this week daily, I reveal the truth. I release the blocks and I rise up and I do it again and again and again.